eu quero mostrar para vocês o quanto é bom viver no Brasil. Porque nos Estados Unidos estão colocando lei para cortar cabelo. Vou falar para você como é que tá acontecendo isso. Vem cá comigo. Vem comigo ver essa história aqui, ó.
Things that a decade ago we thought would never happen in this country are now happening. Look at this. Ken Paxton finally found healthcare providers to charge with illegal abortion. A midwife and a medical assistant in Texas are accused of practicing medicine without a license. So the state of Texas has now officially locked up a doctor for performing an abortion. Here we go. And what appears to be the first arrests of healthcare providers for allegedly violating a post-Roe v. Wade state abortion ban, Maria Margarita Rojas, a midwife working in the region around Houston, and her employee, medical assistant Jose Manuel Sendinley, were taken into custody by Texas authorities on Monday. Court records from Waller County, west of Houston, showed that law enforcement initially accused Rojas of practicing medicine without a license. But on Monday, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, by the way, the most corrupt attorney general in the country. It is absurd how corrupt this man is. He was brought up on like corruption charges from other Republicans and was saved by Trump at the last minute, saved by MAGA at the last minute, but he was caught red-handed in corrupt schemes. And this is the guy who's trying to enforce the law and arrest abortion providers. By the way, if that name sounds familiar, this is also the guy who admitted on Steve Bannon's show immediately after the 2020 election that had he not disqualified a bunch of mail-in ballots, Joe Biden would have won the state of Texas in 2020. He said it, not me. He said he was able to keep millions of ballots from being counted by suing and saying the mail-in ballots are illegal. He's admitting if you actually counted all the votes, Biden would have won the state of Texas in 2020. He said it. He said it. Let's continue. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton announced that he was adding the illegal performance of an abortion to her indictment, a second-degree felony in Texas, carrying a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Lay is facing the same charges. The New York Times reports that court documents allege that Rojas attempted an abortion on a woman on 2 occasions in March and was known by law enforcement to have performed an abortion on another patient this year. In his press release, Paxton claimed that Rojas ran a network of clinics in towns around Houston that unlawfully employed unlicensed individuals who falsely presented themselves as licensed medical professionals. The website for the network, Clínicas Latinoamericanas, advertises urgent care services, treatment for chronic illness, and dietary counseling to a Spanish-language community. Paxton's office said it had filed a temporary restraining order to shut down the clinic. On Tuesday, Paxton announced that a third person associated with the clinics, nurse practitioner Rubildo Labanino Matos, whose license is currently on probation, was arrested on March 8th and charged with conspiracy to practice medicine without a license. Quote, "I will always do everything in my power to protect the unborn, defend our state's pro-life laws, and work to ensure that unlicensed individuals endangering the lives of women by performing illegal abortions are fully prosecuted," Paxton said in his statement on Monday. Texas law protecting life is clear, and we will hold those who violate it accountable. Maternal deaths have surged in Texas since it enacted its abortion ban, according to an analysis published last month by ProPublica. Dozens more pregnant and postpartum patients died in Texas hospitals in 2022 and 2023 compared to before the pandemic. Sepsis rates likewise rose more than 50% among women who were hospitalized after losing their pregnancies in the second trimester. Experts attribute the increasing danger of being pregnant in Texas to doctors delaying or withholding treatments out of fear of running afoul of the state abortion ban, which only provides a narrow exception to save the life of a patient. So in other words, let me explain that. Even if the health of the mom is in question, they go, that's not enough. You basically need to be bleeding out, dying on the table in order for us to legally perform an abortion. That's it. And so a lot of women go in there with serious health complications, but they're not dying just yet. And it's like, hey, dog, you're sort of on your own right now. It's unsurprising, then, that these charges are...
Já teve mulher que literalmente morreu porque ela estava tendo um aborto espontâneo e o médico ficou com medo de ser condenado, porque agora é crime, né? Você performar um médico que performa um aborto, ele é crime de assassinato. E aí ele não quis atender a mulher, ele não quis pôr a mão na mulher. E aí já teve caso de tipo mulher chegar sangrando, uma garota que chegou com uma hemorragia mesmo, assim, e ela tava tipo menstruando muito, vamos dizer assim. E aí ela chegou, ela não estava grávida nem nada. Aí ela chegou no hospital, não quiseram atender ela, porque achavam que ela estava tendo um aborto. Então, por isso que o certo é dizer assim, que essa questão do aborto ela é uma questão de saúde pública. Porque tem vários motivos pelos quais um aborto pode acontecer. E não só vontade da mulher, entendeu? Então, para vocês verem como a coisa tá lá, né? Agora, nos Estados Unidos também, gente, ó, essa lei aqui parece que é a Damares que escreveu, viu? Que agora tem lei para corte masculino e corte feminino de cabelo nos Estados Unidos, tá? Vamos ver aqui, vou mostrar para vocês isso aqui, ó. Bora lá.
Well, folks, welcome to the United States of North Korea, as Republicans in the state of Arkansas are seeking to ban certain haircuts based on your gender. Specifically, if you go to a hairdresser and you request a gender non-conforming haircut, you know, basically a haircut that does not traditionally correspond with the gender you were assigned at birth, that hairdresser is about to have their entire life destroyed under this new piece of legislation. Now, here's what's happening. A year ago, maybe 2 years ago, the state of Arkansas passed a complete and total ban on gender-confirming care. That ban was struck down. So the state of Arkansas was told, you cannot legislate this. You cannot ban legally gender-affirming care. So Republicans that control the state House, state Senate, governorship with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, they decided to come up with a more clever way. Okay, if we can't make it illegal, then we're going to put forth new legislation that basically allows us to sue anyone that affirms a youth, gender identity. We can sue you for up to $10 million. Now, the average hairdresser out there who's giving these haircuts doesn't have $10 million. Neither does the average teacher out there who uses a child's preferred pronouns. But both of those individuals under this new piece of legislation that has been proposed could be sued for $10 million for doing that. Here is HB 1668, State of Arkansas. Weaponizes civil enforcement by permitting lawsuits against any person who supports trans young people by providing or helping to receive gender-affirming care or by affirming young people in their transition. Minors or their parents can sue for minimum damages of $10,000 and up to $10 million in punitive damages for certain forms of medical care. The bill also allows Arkansas parents to sue people or medical providers outside of the state who help Arkansas youth access gender-affirming care. The bill defines social transitioning as, quote, any act by which a minor adopts or espouses a gender identity that differs from the minor's biological sex, including, without limitation, changes in clothing, pronouns, hairstyle, and, of course, name. So again, if a teacher in Arkansas has a student, they say, hey, my pronouns are now, she, her, and the teacher uses those pronouns, minimum $10,000, maximum $10 million lawsuit right there. Hairdresser, young child, maybe 16 because that's still a minor, goes into the hairdresser, says, hey, listen, I am transitioning. I would like a more appropriate haircut for my gender. Hairdresser says, yeah, no problem. Whatever. You're paying me. Sure, I'll do it. You've requested this. Minimum $10,000 lawsuit, maximum $10 million in punitive. Just because they did what somebody asked them to do. And here's the kicker. This is what Republicans in Arkansas are focusing on, right? We got to make sure that the boys ain't getting the girls' haircuts and the girls ain't getting the boys' haircuts. That's the priority in Arkansas. Arkansas is 47th in the country in education. Arkansas is 48th in healthcare. They have the 7th highest poverty rate in the nation, and they have the highest maternal mortality rate in the country. The highest. You want to talk about protecting kids? How about you work on your healthcare system to where mommy doesn't die while giving birth to the kid? That's going to cause far more damage than a temporary haircut. But no. Y'all just keep living in poverty, keep screwing people over, having one of the highest overall mortality rates in the country. Let your people die while living in squalor, so that you can sit in your ivory palace in your state legislature and regulate haircuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Enfim, é hipocrisia, né? E é exatamente isso. É exatamente isso. Isso tudo é uma distração. Uma distração. E aí, se você é um cara de cabelo comprido, você é metalheiro, você vai ter o cabelo comprido. Sei lá, uma mulher, você quer ter um corte de cabelo curto. Aí não pode agora. Nos Estados Unidos, no Arkansas, não pode mais. Vocês entendem aonde que esse povo quer chegar? Eles são malucos, gente. Eles são malucos e eles usam isso também para roubar as pessoas. Para distrair as pessoas daqui enquanto eles estão fazendo as cagadas por trás. A Ana Rita tá dizendo que fica admirada com essas pessoas que ainda conseguem rir com essas medidas insanas. Nesse momento, eu que não moro aí, fico arrepiada cada vez que eu ouço falar uma nova lei. Pois é. É que é um negócio que é tão insano, né? Que tem uma certa graça, de tão absurdo que é. Então, eu acho que a gente tem um tipo de humor pra isso já, né? Tipo assim... É um humor do fim do mundo, né? Mas assim, é impressionante. É impressionante. E não se iludam. Essa galera vai até onde a gente deixar eles irem. E eu fico por aqui e até amanhã, meio-dia, eu volto com mais conversas, mais notícias.